There's three things, man. My teacher taught me, which is my spiritual mother. Catherine Jones. Oh my God, she's just amazing. She's a beautiful woman.
Yeah.
Actually, it was one of my ex-girlfriend's mothers that I built a great relationship with, man. Like, we would ride bikes together. We'd hang out. We'd go out to eat. She helped me through a lot of, like, her and her daughter helped me through my brain injuries and my hip surgeries and all that stuff, man. And but in the process over the years, I've probably known her like 17 years. And she does my son's hair still. She's a hairstylist. She does dreadlocks and all that stuff, man.
Dope.
Yeah. She's super dope, man. She's what's it called? A Christian Christian counselor.
Okay.
She has a degree in that. I don't know why it's slipping my mind right now.
Sure.
But either way, she said, three things you got to do, and everything else, all the other commandments will fall in line. She's like, love God with all your heart.
Okay.
And then she says, love your neighbor as you love thyself.
Yeah.
And then share your testimony. That's it. She's like, that's all you got to do.
That's it.
And I'm like, that's it? She's like, yo, that's all you got to do. And then all the other commandments fall in line. When you do those three things.
Yeah.
That's it.
That makes sense.
That's it, dude. It's that simple, and like, it's not as complicated as we have made it.
Right.
And what taught me that was these brain injuries. I was going to get therapy and treatment, and one of the ladies, Jenny, she works at a TGH rehabilitation center in Tampa. I can't think of it. Tampa General Rehabilitation Center. And one of the first things she told me, I was a mess when I first started seeing her.
Yeah.
And man, I highly recommend people going to this facility, man. I mean, they were just so great.
Okay.
But she said, you got to keep it simple. And then when I heard that terminology, I applied that to everything in my life. She said, because when you have a brain injury, she's like, you can't overdo it. You can't overwhelm yourself.
So she's recommending the KISS method, which we say in engineering, keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah, but I took out the stupid part because like, I'm like, that's speaking death. I'm going to get rid of that. So just keep it simple, man.
Keep it simple. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. And that's exactly what she did say. She related it exactly to that. And I'm like, I'm going to take out the stupid part because I'm all about like what I'm learning is speaking life, man. When you speak life everywhere you go, you get life.
To avoid the negativity.
Yes. And I'm not saying you're going to be some super positive person all the time because things are going to happen, man. It's unrealistic. Not everybody's, I love Joel Osteen, but he preaches positivity.
Yeah.
And that's great. But we are going to have our times where it's going to get hard, and like as a believer, we're going to struggle sometimes, man. So it's not always going to be all peaches and cream, or I don't know. Peaches, that's a probably bad. That's a bad reference. But lollipops and gumdrops. How about that?
We're all humans, So you can't be positive all the time,
Mm-mm. And it's okay not to be.
Yeah,
it's okay not to be because that's how we learn.
Right.
We have to have some things go wrong sometimes because we have to learn from them.
Sure.
If it was all great all the time, I don't think, just think about it. Like, I know this, when things are going great for me, like I always tend to mess things up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. There's a philosophy of like, you can't have true perfection in anything because humans define themselves through adversity, right? So if everything were perfect, we as humans would reject that, and they even talk about that in the movie The Matrix. You've seen it before.
Yes, it's been a long time.
Yeah, I love The Matrix. There are so many different philosophical little bits in throughout the trilogy, but they talk about like the first construct, which is basically a simulated reality for humans, right, to keep them under control. And the first construct was supposed to be this like utopia where nothing went wrong and everything was perfect. And all the humans, they rejected that idea. It was just too perfect, right? So no adversity. Humans have to have some level of adversity in order to advance, in order to recognize what it is that they want, and become stronger individuals. Without adversity, I think we just fall into what we were talking about earlier, that sort of complacency. Like there's no drive at
there
that
it
point,
is.
right?
There it is.
Yeah, so it all circles back, It all circles
man, it just did.
Yeah.
It just did.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Bringing it home, man.
There it is.
Yeah,
Shout out to The
awesome.
Matrix. I love that trilogy. It's
man.
one of my favorite. Shout out to Keanu Reeves. I watched. It's on my flight home from Vegas. I watched. What is it? Oh my God. John Wick.
Okay.
I watched the John Wick trilogy. He's fantastic. The Keanu Reeves. He's a beautiful man.
Yes, sir.
That guy's awesome. Yeah. But it all comes back. It all comes full circle. Everything's interconnected for the most part. There are some things that are sort of siloed off to the side. But yeah.
Well, I truly believe, we're all one body. I mean, this whole world, because everything we do affects each other.
Yeah.
You might not, you might think you're getting away with something, or you might think, what you're doing doesn't affect, but it's going to affect somebody.
Yeah.
And then that's going to affect somebody else. And then, it goes on and on. It's
Absolutely.
a domino effect, man.
Yeah.
So like if it's pain, you're going to affect pain on somebody. They're going to put pain on someone else, and it's going to attract more pain.
Right. It takes a strong individual to end that cycle. And that's, that goes back to what we were talking about broken families.
Yes.
Broken homes. So when a child is brought up in a broken home, they're way more likely to inflict that same pain on the next generation, and create another broken home, and the cycle continues.
Yes.
It takes strong individuals to break that cycle, right?
Breaking generational curses.
Yeah. And unfortunately for myself and the mother of my child, we were not strong enough to break that cycle.
But it's not over.
Well, for us,
I mean,
for us, it's.
But
over.
Yes, I understand that. But you got a son together,
Yeah, we do.
and so it's not over.
You're right.
There's more work to be done.
We can instill through him.
Yes.
Hopefully he's wise enough to see the mistakes that we made and not make those same mistakes. And as long as we instill those values in him, he'll do better. Right?
Absolutely, man. He's gonna be an amazing young man.
Yeah,
especially
I
with
think so.
With your intelligence, man.
Oh, his mom's super intelligent too. She's
Yes. Look at that.
Yeah,
oh man.
Yeah, she
beautiful compliment.
Oh, absolutely. I have nothing against her, right?
Yes.
And so she's very smart. She graduated from law school. Passed the bar exam. She is a licensed attorney now. So she is,
Awesome.
very smart. She'll be super successful in her career. I'm sure of it. And our son, she's a descendant of Ashkenazi Jews, I think is what it's called.
What's
and
that?
So it's I don't know the details, but it's a type of, it's an ethnicity of Jewish descent. And apparently, statistically, they're supposed to be the smartest people on the planet.
Really?
Like, well,
how do you say it again?
Ashkenazi.
Ashkenazi.
Yeah, yeah. And I say that with a little bit of uncertainty that they're the smartest, because I know there might be some Asians that give some pushback. I'm just anyway, but they're supposed to be really intelligent, like high IQ, ethnicity of people, and so that's why I'm not saying that's why she's smart, but she's just a very smart girl.
Yes.
So my son's gonna benefit from my obvious high level of intellect, and then
Absolutely.
his mom's high intellect. He's already showing signs of being a smart kid, and every parent says that.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yes.
My kid's smart.
Yes.
But aside from that, we're going to instill in him the values that I think let me not say that. The values that we want our kid to have, whether or not it's universal that these values should be instilled in every kid, that's nonsense. But I do, we are definitely going to be so involved in our child's life that we're going to make sure that he has great values, and that he learns from the previous generations, right?
Yes.
My parents are divorced. His mom's parents are divorced, so she and I never married. I did have plans to propose to her, but that didn't happen. And so we're kind of perpetuating that, but I wanted to end with my son So it's going to be important that we instill those values in him. But I am afraid that he's going to repeat the same cycle. It's been repeated, right? I mean, it's that curse that you mentioned.
Yes.
So, we just need to make sure that, I don't know. I don't know. We got to raise him right. That's all.
I got you. But man, I don't think it has to be, repeated.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like how do we not repeat it, right? Like let's talk about that. Let's talk about it, because I think we got some solutions right now.
Okay.
We can come up with something right now.
Well, I've already repeated it, so I don't know if
Well, as far as him though, how do we prevent him from repeating it? And I think one of the things that you're already doing is like you're like, man, my son is super intelligent. He's his mom is smart, and like you're speaking life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, that is so important for us as parents to do, man, is to speak life into our children, man.
Sure.
Because I have heard the opposite, from a lot of parents that are and friends saying that when they grew up, that their parents didn't say good things to them, didn't encourage them, didn't tell them how great they were, kind of limited them, and we gotta, what you're doing right now, you're not gonna put limits on your child. I could tell.
And so I think one of the things that I can do is to kind of talk to him about the situation between his mom and myself.
Absolutely. Be transparent.
Right. Which my parents never did.
Wow. Here we go.
Right.
Here we go.
My mom, we never had the sit down conversation about, what transpired between she and my dad. My dad and I never had that conversation. So I have very little idea of what exactly happened. I was 7 years old, I believe, when they separated. And as far as I was concerned, up until that day, everything was fine, So they were probably, arguing or bickering behind closed doors, not so that, myself and my sister never saw it. And then it all came to a head at some point. And then, next thing we know, they're separated and they're getting a divorce. And I don't know exactly the full story. I don't know my mom's side of it. I don't know my dad's side of it, and they always say there are three sides to a story.
Mm-hmm.
There's, that person's side, the other person's side, and then the truth.
Yep.
Right. And so I'm obviously, if I were to talk to both my parents and get their sides of the story, I would obviously not choose one as the truth over the other.
Okay.
Because I know that there's something in between.
Yes.
The actual truth. But I've never gotten either side. I have no idea, what
Isn't
happened.
that interesting? Like, and how old are you?
Dude, I just turned 41.
Exactly. Look at this. Look how long we can go through life not knowing the truth, and that has to have something to do with the brokenness.
Agreed.
Like you said. So this is great though. You just spoke on transparency.
Yeah.
So you're going to be transparent with your child.
Exactly.
And you're going to take accountability. I think that's another one. Mm-hmm. Taking accountability.
Full accountability.
But that way he's not left wondering until he's 41 years old and sitting inside of on a podcast saying, "Hey, you know what? I don't even know."
Right? Exactly.
I'm messing with you, man. I'm not trying to. I'm not trying to. Just bringing it all together.
That's a great point. But yeah, I really don't mind talking about what transpired between myself and his mom. Like I know my side of it. She and I really need to talk and figure out.
Here. Let's do it on. Let's do it on the podcast. That would be incredible.
I think she'd agree to that. I think she would.
Yeah, we can edit.
We can edit.
Things go wrong.
Things go horribly wrong. We can edit.
That would be that would be really powerful, man.
Yeah. I know part.
Something to think about.
Yeah, exactly. But I know part of her gripe was that I kind of checked out of the relationship. True. and I pretty much ignored her for the better part of a year, right? Which I could have handled that better. It was very passive aggressive of me, which is not a masculine thing to do. Not at all. It's so I do.
There it is, accountability. Yeah, you're taking accountability.
Absolutely. I do kind of regret that. Yes. From my perspective, however, I had an expectation of her.
Okay.
And so it's a very simple expectation, and I can lay it out very plainly. I needed her to set her priorities in a specific way.
Okay.
I needed her priorities to be our son, so our family first, our household second, and her career third.
Okay.
And that we could not agree on that. Her priorities were her career first, our son and family second, and then our household third. And I wasn't budging on that. All right. And so and that's the traditional male in me, the traditional provider and protector male coming out of me. I needed her to set aside briefly, not permanently, just reprioritize her career for a bit. And some people listening to this will say, well, she's got a law degree and she's an attorney. Like, how could you ask her to do that? From a financial standpoint, her career didn't matter, right? I was in a position to ensure that we were well taken care of.
Okay.
Right. So I work very hard. And I've done well for myself. And so I needed help with those other two priorities, right? I needed help with managing the household, and taking care of our son. And so her prioritizing her career made it much more difficult for me to prioritize the provisioning and the financial aspect of our situation. Because I mean, it's because I had to pick up the slack of taking care of, the family, of our son. I worked from home. And so after our son was born, she was on maternity leave for about 6 months. And so it was great because she was home and we were both splitting the duties with our son, right? Newborn baby, he's got to be fed every 3 hours. He's got to be changed. It's on the both of us to kind of help each other out. And we were doing that. It was, it's your turn to change the diapers. Okay. And there was no issue whatsoever because we were both together doing that. And that was great. After her 6-month maternity leave, she almost immediately went to work, leaving me at home with a 6-month-old baby, also while working full time. So here I am working full time, and I'm also taking care of a baby full time.
How long did you do that for?
I did that for the first year and a half or so. So 6 months, we were doing it jointly. And so it was I did that for another 9 months. Wow. Because he started daycare in April, after his first birthday. Okay. So that was 3 months after his first birthday. His birthday's in January. He started daycare. So that alleviated some of the stress off of me because now, I can take him to daycare. He's Absolutely. There at daycare all day and now I can focus on work. However, even with the daycare situation, I was the one who woke up in the morning, got our son ready, cleaned, dressed, fed, ready for daycare, drove him to daycare, the entire time she's sleeping, mind you. She rolls out of bed at some point after we leave. I come home after dropping him off from daycare. She's gone. 4:30 rolls around. I pick him up from daycare, come home. She doesn't get home till 6 o'clock. So between the hours of 6 p.m., and then he goes to bed at like 9, right? So she only sees him for about 3 hours a day.
Okay.
During the week, she sees him between the hours of when she gets home 6 to 9, and then the rest of the time, it's myself and the daycare provider. So that goes on for about another year, and I at this point, we've had some conversations, like I express that I need her to do a little bit more. And so she'll perk up and do more, and I hate to put all this on her. It sounds like I'm blaming her for everything. Part of it is my fault for not setting an expectation immediately,
Okay.
right?
All right.
Before the child was born, for not setting that expectation of, here, listen, this is what I need you to do. I need you to shift your priorities. Although we did have a conversation at one point where she, we talked about the traditional household where the man is the provider and the protector, and the woman is the primary caregiver and the primary caretaker. And I thought we were on the same page with that, and that's the way I wanted things to go. Seeing my grandparents' relationship and their marriage, they were married, over 50 years, and that was how they made things work. I'm sure things weren't perfect, but it worked. For over 50 years, they stayed together. And so I thought we were on the same page, and it turns out we weren't. And so long story short, eventually I kind of checked out of the relationship. I did what I needed to do for our son and to maintain the household, to pay the bills, whatever. But she, I for the most part, I ignored her. Right? I felt like I didn't need her at that point. If she weren't in the house, she decided to leave tomorrow. And I think I said this to her at one point, which is kind of a fucking dick thing to say. But I think I told her at one point, like, if you were to leave the house tomorrow, nothing would change, right? The bills would still be paid. Our son would still be taken care of. He would be taking the daycare and whatever. Nothing would change, And so eventually that's what happened. She moved out, and I was okay with it. And so now we're apart. And the funny thing is, now we have 50-50 joint custody. And now she's doing all I asked her to do, 50% of the work.
She could have been doing 50-50 under the same roof.
Right. And not even 50-50. Only 50-50 is so far as it is with our son. I was never asking her to pay half the bills. I was never asking her to, do 50% of the housework or whatever. Actually, I would prefer her to do the majority of the housework. But, but now she has no choice but to pick up at least 50% of the work taking care of our son, because she has him 50% of the time by herself. Okay. So she has to do that. So, and that's all I wanted. If she would have done that to begin with, we wouldn't have been in this situation, right? And if I had spoken up sooner, and set that expectation earlier, maybe we wouldn't be in this situation either. But it is what it is, and now here's where we are, unfortunately. So
got you.
Yeah, so that's my story with my ex, and it's an unfortunate situation, and a lot of relationships. It's a modern relationship thing. I think it's driven a lot. I'm gonna go back to the whole feminism thing. But I think this idea of traditional relationships where there are specific gender roles in the household are no longer accepted by a lot of younger people. And she was younger than I. She's 8 years younger than I am. So okay. Significantly younger, right? So I'm like right on the cusp of Generation X. I'm like the last Generation Xer. And so she's technically a millennial. Mm-hmm. So her generation was raised with this modern day thinking of, as a female, you got to put your career and your education first and everything, and your happiness also, which I don't agree with. When it comes to raising a child and having a family, you got to put your happiness aside. It's about duty at that point, right? It's not about happiness. Your personal happiness doesn't mean shit when you have a child. Their happiness is what matters, right? So unfortunately, her personal happiness and her career were her priority, and that wasn't going to work for me, and didn't work for us, and so now we're apart.
Wow, man, that's tough, man.
Yeah,
that is tough, man. Thank you for sharing that too, man. I mean, I know that's not easy, and
sure.
And that's what we're talking about right now is being transparent.
Yeah.
So it's you're being transparent, man, and that's huge.
Yeah.
And I think talking to her, and sharing that with her, it'd be interesting to see or to hear her perspective.
Oh, I'll send her.
Yeah. I'm sure she's gonna hear it.
Yeah.
But it seems like from listening to you, that was a very logical way of handling the situation.
Yeah.
But from my personal experience, women are not always logical. They're more emotional.
Yeah.
So, I guess my question for her would be like, maybe to some degree, like how was her emotional needs being met?
Absolutely not.
So maybe that might have had something to do with why she didn't trust, I'm just saying.
Well, before, so when I checked out, yes, I stopped seeing to her emotional needs. Okay. Like I said, I checked out. But before that, whatever, absolutely her emotional needs. I made sure all of her needs were met prior to me.
But you just kind of got tired of like repeating yourself to some degree.
Yeah, and also I got tired of not having or feeling like I didn't have any help.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
My own household. Yeah. I don't have any help. You're not helping me in any way, right? And that's what I said. I said you're not helping me in any way. If you were to leave tomorrow, nothing changes, right? What impact are you making in our household that I can't do without? What value are you bringing?
There we go.
That I can't do.
I just wrote down add value.
Right? That I can't do without.
Okay.
And I think her response when I said that was like, well, I would like to think that my personality. Okay, I wish I had the buzzer right now. Right, I would hit that goddamn sound.
Where's that dang buzzer?
I hit that goddamn sound effect so fast.
Yeah.
Your personality really. We have a family here. We're raising a child. We have a home.
But here we go. That's where that 8 years comes into play, though, because I think there's immaturity there.
Yeah.
And like she wasn't quite where you were mentally mature wise,
right?
In that realm.
Yeah.
Maybe in other realms she was conscious to in more mature.
Yeah.
But that was not one of them.
Yeah.
Obviously.
And I just want to clarify.
She wasn't thinking family first. Obviously.
No, I absolutely not. And like I said, those
were you guys in love? That's another. That's a big question there.
That's a good question. I don't know if she was ever in love with me. Was I in love with her? I loved her, absolutely. I don't know if I was truly in love, but I did all the things that someone in love would do. But if Chris were here, he'd say I was. All right, okay. He'd say I absolutely was. Okay. Yeah.
Well, all right. So this is the first telltale sign to find out if you were in love with her, I think.
Okay.
Did you love yourself?
What do you mean? Oh, did I love myself?
When you were with her, did you love yourself?
Yeah.
You loved yourself?
I would no less than any other time. I mean,
right on. Okay.
I love myself.
Okay.
That's a
because I think for us,
question.
I think for us as men, like it's hard for us to give out whole love if we don't understand whole love, and if we don't love ourselves, then we really can't love. It's hard for us to love another.
I can't really say that I've ever really loved myself though. That's the thing. Like
interesting.
I've been steeped in self-loathing for quite some time, and I compartmentalize it so I can function and get through the fucking day.
Yes.
But there's a certain level of like self-loathing within me, and it's fine. It's probably one of the reasons why I drink so much. That just is who I am. It's reflected in like the novels that I read. Like I've read every novel that Charles Bukowski has ever written.
Okay.
And that's just like some of the most debaucherous, like self-loathing novels.
Really?
And that's what I find interesting. So, I don't know if I could ever say there was a point in my life where I truly loved myself.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. So
interesting.
How do I get to that point? Because that would be a new thing for me, and it'd be kind of fucking awesome.
Yes, we're getting there. We're doing it right now. We're doing it right now, man. I believe.
All right, let me just pour another one.
Yeah.
A little bit more of this love potion over
there.
There
we go. Yeah, and I'm not saying anything like wrong towards you or nothing.
No,
like, I'm just like trying to offer a different perspective.
Yeah. No, this is
awesome.
What
I'm saying? Like but I do want to touch on something also that you said about like the adding value. I think a lot of times because I've been in that situation, man, where I'm grinding hard and and I'm doing everything I can possibly do to try and like help the person that I'm with and and you know, they're just kind of like sitting back and enjoying the ride.
Yeah.
And it's like, yo, like sometimes, you know, like when someone's, especially when you're being vocal and you're communicating like you were, like, hey, I need help, man. You know, like, you know, like, step up, man. Because guess what? When you step up and you start helping out, that's gonna bring more love, you know, because like you reached out, like you were telling her what you needed and what you know, what you expected. So if she captured that thought and then applied that to her life and maybe said, you know, like, hey, you know, okay, baby, you know, like, I'm gonna take a break from school and we're gonna figure this out.
Yeah.
You know, that would have maybe made you think differently, and then that would have made you want to like go harder for her. And you know, I mean, there's so many things that come into play, right?
You're right.
You
And,
know,
we you know what, we did do one counseling session because I was willing to try whatever.
right. Dude, you were willing to go to counseling?
Yeah, so we did.
That's already big, because a lot of men, I know even myself, I've been in relationships where they've asked me to go to counseling.
Yeah.
And I was like, absolutely not.
Really?
Yeah, but you know, but that was before, you know, I accepted Christ and really understood all this and started going to counseling to like rehab from brain injuries and all that stuff. So now I get counseling.
Well, okay, I got you. But if it wasn't for my son, I wouldn't have gone to counseling, right? So it was more for him than anything else. But I was still curious to hear, you know, her side, you know, what was going on in her head too, because like I said, you know, we weren't communicating at one point. It was like we were roommates, right? And I think she made that comment. We were roommates. I spent a lot of time in this goddamn office, you know, which is now our studio. While she was in the living room, you know, and so our son was like traveling back and forth between the office and the living room, like trying to talk to his parents, and we're not, you know, so we did go to counseling, and you know, one of the things that I learned from counseling was that I was not praising enough, or I didn't recognize the things that she had accomplished enough. I didn't, you know, show my I didn't give her praise for the things that she did, you know, and that's one thing I definitely need to work on.
Okay.
Because for me, you know, in my own head, it's like, I don't expect any praise. I don't even know how to react to it half the time. And so it's hard for me to give that praise. Although with my son, I don't seem to have a problem with it, right?
Yeah.
I got video after
natural.
Yeah, I got video after video of, like, I just took a video of him the other day. For the first time, you know, he's like actually eating by himself, right? He doesn't need any help. He doesn't need me to help him hold the spoon. So now he's eating. I'm watching him eat these peaches out of a bowl all by himself, and I'm taking a video. I'm like, dude, that's so fucking awesome.
That's beautiful,
right? So that's one thing. That's I think that was the major thing that really kind of put her off, was that I didn't recognize or praise her for the things that she had accomplished, you know, or I didn't show enough praise, you know, like passing the bar exam, you know, and
that's
getting
huge.
Yeah, that is huge, and I'm sure, you know, I took her out for that or whatever, but maybe I didn't make a big enough deal about it, you know, or for getting a job at a law firm, you know, which she's been working there for quite a while, and you know, she's doing well. So maybe I didn't make a big enough deal about her accomplishments, and that's what she said to the counselor.
There it is.
So
that's one thing.
That is definitely one thing that I could have worked on. But what I just told you about the whole situation is what I told the counselor, and so, you know, at that point, we only went to the one counseling session.
Okay.
And that it didn't really change anything.
Yeah, you probably needed to keep going.
Probably.
You know, well, I don't know about probably.
At that point, I think she was already on her way out anyway.
Yeah. Maybe you both had checked out.
Yeah, well, so we definitely did, because I checked out, but she also she got a condo behind. I had no idea. So she's getting a condo behind my back, right? Taking her own money, which is fine, because she doesn't pay any bills, right? I don't ask her for any money. I never had. So all the money she earned was her money. But there was, you know, closing on a condo takes months. Yeah. You gotta find the condo. You gotta fucking go through the closing process, provide all the paperwork. So
it was premeditated.
It was. She was already. She was checked out. You know, like I was checked out.
She was planning.
The only difference is that, you know, I was gonna put up with it. You know, like as men, we typically don't leave relationships. There's a reason why 80% of divorces are initiated by women, and it's not because men are abusive or because men cheat. That's BS. Although it does happen, that's not the overwhelming reason as to why all of the divorces or 80% of the divorces are initiated by women. So she's ready to go, and for me, I probably would have sucked it up for quite some time. And that's what men do. We commit and then we kind of live with that, even if it's not working. We don't tend to leave relationships. So yeah, she had a plan. She was like, all right, I'm out of here. I'm going to get a condo and then, see you later. And so, so at least she had that foresight and it made things transition kind of smoothly. It wasn't like, I'm gonna fight you for the house or like let's go over this huge legal battle. It was like, nope, I'm gonna move into my own place. We're gonna do 50-50 joint custody with our son. We're gonna keep the courts out of it, and it's been amicable ever since. I went on vacation to Vegas last week. I needed her to take him for 2 days early, and she was like, fine, I'll pick him up 2 days early. You pick him up 2 days early when you get back. And I was like, perfect. Yeah, let's do it.
Right on.
Yeah. So,
this is cool.
Very lucky in that regard.
Yeah, for sure.
I would obviously prefer that things worked out between us.
Yeah.
And, her family's pretty awesome too. Really good family. She has a really solid family.
Which is very important.
Yeah. Like her, like I said, her parents are divorced, but, aside from that, really good family values,
Okay.
So,
and that's probably why she does have somewhat of a really good head on her shoulders to be able, to communicate with you and do those things like you said, man, and things are going so well.
Yeah, and that's actually one of the reasons why I wasn't so freaked out when I found out she was pregnant, because I was like, well, you come from a pretty decent family.
Yes. I
know they're gonna, if anything ever happens to me, my son's gonna be okay. Her dad's a cool guy. He's a smart man, very successful. So I knew that there was a support system there. And that's important.
Yes.
For your children. So and then on my end as well. My family's very. My son's with my mom right now at his grandma's house. With my sister and her kids, and so. There's support systems on both sides.
Yes, man. Oh, that's awesome, dude.
So it's
like so many times I used to do that as well, man. It's like, man, I'm so lucky. You're blessed, bro.
Yeah,
you're blessed, man. Like straight up, because you got two good families. You got a cooperating, son, a mother of your child.
Yeah.
And man, I mean, you got a lot of stuff to be grateful for, bro.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's incredible, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, that's success to me, to some degree.
Absolutely.
But I guess we just got to keep looking for how do we keep getting it better? How do we keep adding value to that? You know, because and I think because when you got something, I thought about this recently, man, is when you got something good, you have to nurture it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a message for everybody. When everything in life, everything in life. If you recognize that you have something good, nurture it, man. Plug into it. Make it. What's the definition of nurturing?
The textbook definition. That's a good question.
I mean, I'm sorry. I started to put you on the spot like that, but I'm like, man, we need to look this up, man, because that
promote growth, right?
Yeah, it's very important, man. To recognize that.
Sure.
I think so many times we go through life and we don't recognize that we have something good.
Yeah.
I
would say to provide the necessary ingredients or nutrients to promote growth.
That's probably pretty spot on.
Nurturing.
So care for and encourage the growth or development of. Yeah, so there you go. Yep. So we want to keep growing in everything that we're doing, and if something is not worth nurturing, then get away from it.
Yeah. No,
get away from it, man. Run.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If you can. Okay. That's what I say, man. But yeah, all the stuff that is awesome in your life, man, and nurture it.
Very cool, man.
Yeah, very cool, man. Yeah, that was cool, man. I really appreciate you.
That was a bit of
that was dope, man.
That was a bit of a big data dump there. I wasn't expecting to go into that entire story. But yeah, that's
words of affirmation.
Yeah.
So transparency. Focus on really encouraging when our mates, or whoever we're with, relationships, anybody though, that does something good, man. Really give them some positive encouragement. Give them some words of affirmation, man. Let them know.
Absolutely.
And I think what you did, because I used to do that too, is us as men, like when someone achieves something, we think like, all right, we'll take them out to dinner. We'll we'll go buy them some drinks. We'll show them a good night, and we think that that's the answer.
Sure.
And it's like, man, that's not. It's not just like, okay, one big celebration and it's over. Keep telling them.
Continuous effort.
Yeah, it's continuous effort, man. Keep telling them how proud you are.
Yeah.
I think that's somewhere where we fail as well as men. Is I do it too, man. I did it for years. Is telling our women, telling our mothers, telling our sisters how proud of them we are.
Sure.
How much we love them, like how much they mean to us,
Okay.
like we forget to do those things.
Does it not go both ways though?
It does.
Who's telling men?
Oh, it does.
That
it does.
They're proud of them.
It definitely does, man. Because if you're not getting filled up, then you're not gonna have anything to give.
Right.
So like if you're pouring it all out and you're pouring into any relationship that is just draining, then they're just takers and they take, and you got no one else filling you up, man. You're gonna eventually be on E.
Yeah.
And you're gonna have nothing to give.
Well, I think for me, as a man, I never really expect, that praise, right? I just do what I feel like I'm supposed to do.
But you should get it though. Like right. You should have. So this is what really, man. I'm really excited now. Okay. I had never saw. I love my mom. I love my grandmother and but I had never, like, until my sister. Yeah. My mom had my sister when she was younger, before she met my father, which my sister's mixed. She had a daughter with a black man. Okay. And she put my sister up for adoption.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So 5 years ago, my mom would always talk about this, man. My mom would say, like, I put your sister up for adoption. She's kind of crazy, so I didn't think that it was real, And
your mom?
Yeah.
Okay.
She was saying this like my whole life.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, like 5 years ago, my sister, that Jennifer, and my I talk about them all the time. They have the production company. Yep. She comes in and finds us.
Really?
Yeah, and I actually met her on my son's birthday one year at a Dave and Buster's, like out there in like Riverview or Brandon or something like that.
Okay.
And she came out and I met her, and like, man, instant, like as soon as I met her, like her energy, like I felt like a connection.
Nice.
And then we started working on that. We started working on that relationship. We started nurturing it, and like, she's a strong believer. And man, it's grown into something beautiful. So I had never saw a good woman, a woman that loves in a whole kind of way.
Yeah.
Like I had saw my mom, who loves, and like, she's broken, so she loves in broken pieces. I saw like all these other women that I was meeting, like they were broken, so they would give me like little pieces of love.
Right.
But then I'm looking at my sister and my brother-in-law's relationship, their marriage, and I'm like, man, that's how you're supposed to do it, man. Like, and like she loves him in a whole way, and he loves her in a whole way, and like, so like they together are healed, and they produce more healing. So they have helped me. Yeah. With some of the difficulties that I've had with relationships and understanding. They've given me some guidance. So I had never saw an image of a good woman. So I'm like, so now I'm starting to realize, I'm like, man, like these women should have been speaking life into me. They should have been helping me walk into in purpose, and like, because like they're walking in purpose together. Uh-huh. They're running a company together, and they're like, and they wake up every day to get to work together. They get to enjoy life together, they get to meet people together. And that's really what it's about, man. It's like we should be walking in purpose together. It shouldn't be like you work over here, I work over here, we see each other on a weekend, we do dinner once a week. That's really like, that's not sustainable. You might be able to do that for a little while, but it should get to a point where you come together. Your love comes together, and you say, hey man, let's figure out how to, do something that we love together. Mm. And then, we get to see each other every day. We get to grow together. Yeah. And I had never understood that. And now I do. Yeah. And so I'm in a great position because I don't have a relationship, and I understand that now. So like whatever woman I meet, and I get with, like I know what to do now, and I know how I should be loved, and I know how to love, because of them.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah, man.
That's crazy, man.
It is
how
crazy,
that worked
dude.
out,
It's incredible, man. Yeah. I can't wait to have her on the show as well.
Yeah.
She's awesome, man. Like she's a healer, man, and man, when she prays, man, you feel it.
Okay.
Yeah, you feel it, bro. She prays hard. She got me through some tough times, man. She prays hard, bro.
That's awesome.
Yeah, she's incredible, man.
Oh, that's amazing, dude. Yeah,
It
let's
is.
get her on the show.
Yeah, I'm so thankful, man. I'm so thankful, man. I love her so much, man. And like, I love my brother-in-law so much. He's been like a big brother to me, man. He's been like great guidance, man.
Really?
And yeah, because they had broken relationships, you know.
Yeah.
And they've been through a lot, man. And they were able to share with me like their trauma and their problems that they had, and be able to kind of like walk me through like, hey, man, that's not right, you know.
Yeah.
Like what you're, how that woman's treating you, and like you deserve more. And I'm like, oh, hold up, like, dang. So when you talk about like, you're not used to hearing praise, that's not right. Like, women should be, I'm not saying you like worship the dude or whatever, but you should definitely have words of affirmation for him as well, man. And like, so that's another thing, the 5 love languages.
Mm-hmm.
They talk about this book. It's a great book. But it shouldn't be like, oh, you should love me. Like you should speak my love language to understand me.
Yeah.
So that's just another example of pieces of love.
Sure.
It should be whole love. It should be touching on all those languages plus more.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like and it takes it's work every day to love somebody in a whole kind of way.
So I think my issue started at a younger age. I don't think it was not hearing the praise from my ex. I think it was more from the father figures in my life.
Definitely.
Right?
I agree. I could agree with that right off top.
Right. Exactly. So my dad, who I ceased to have a relationship with, at a young age. My stepdad, who, he didn't, I don't know. He wasn't really a praising figure in my life. And my grandfather, who I take after the most from a work ethic and a traditional sort of man aspect of like the male being the provider. I take after him in that way, in that regard. But he was very stern. He was very, you do what you need to do. You do what you're supposed to do. And that's it. Don't expect anything, don't expect any praise. So there was never a point, in my life where I got a lot of praise for the things that I did.
Which is crazy because
I never really, and I ceased to expect it. It's like, whatever. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. I'm a man, or I'm in school,
which
and
is
so
great.
This is what I'm supposed to do. You don't have to praise me for my responsibilities, right? If I get good grades, it's because I'm supposed to get good grades. If I do something right, I'm supposed to do that. So I never expected praise, and so because of that, I never really gave it, Right
on.
And so now I think having my son has changed that, obviously.
Yes, because it comes natural.
Yeah, it is natural. I'm continuously praising this guy, Yeah, but I also fear that I might be too critical as well. So I might have to dial that back a bit.
Well,
right?
pay attention to that because you just said it. Mm-hmm. So now you're aware.
Yeah.
You might be too critical.
Yeah, I might be super critical. My granddad was very critical as well. And like I said, I do take after him a lot. But so with that, comes the understanding that I may need to dial back that critical aspect of it as well. But I do, my son, whenever he does anything awesome, I let him know, that's
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
and that's so great because that came from it's so awesome how that works. Like that came from you not getting it,
right? To
saying, man, I want to give that to my son.
Oh yeah,
absolutely. Because I know what it feels like to not get that.
Yeah, and we talked about that in the previous show with Smitty.
Did we?
Yeah, we were talking about how like learning from past mistakes or learning from what the people before you didn't do or what they did do that you want to change.
Yes.
It's I think the quote that I mentioned was a smart person learns from their own mistakes, but a wise person learns from the mistakes of others.
Yes.
So, yep.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Man, that's awesome, man. I think it takes us as parents and to we have to better ourselves, and we have to want to be better, and we have to want to understand, and we have to want to keep growing and evolving. so that our kids can keep growing and evolving. Because if we don't grow and we don't evolve, then our kids, we're really doing them a disservice.
Yeah.
So the more we pursue our gifts and our passions and our love, and we take chances, and we try to learn in life, it's better for not only our children, but it's better for the world.
Agreed.
Because we're all connected. So